When you hear the word monopoly, you might think of a board game. But in Ethiopia, monopoly is not a game. It's a reality that has shaped the way we live, communicate, and do business for decades. For most of Ethiopia's modern history, there was only one telecom company, Ethio Telecom. One company controlled every phone call, every text, every mobile data connection, and every internet line in the country. That's what monopoly means when there's only one provider, one seller, one gatekeeper. And whatever that single company decides, everyone must accept. If your phone stops working for 2 days, there's nowhere else to go. If your internet drops for a week, there's no other company to call. If you complain, they can ignore you because you don't have a choice. That's the danger of monopoly, when one company becomes so powerful that the people become powerless. Let's make it simple. Imagine there's only one pasta company in Ethiopia. You want to cook spaghetti, and there's only one brand that makes it. Even if the pasta is low quality, even if the price keeps rising, even if they mix dust with the flour, you still have to buy it because there's no alternative. That is monopoly. It is not only about telecom. It's a mindset, a system that says one is enough and that competition is a threat. For decades, Ethiopia lived under that kind of system. During the Derg regime, monopoly was everywhere, in telecommunications, banks, and trade. The government controlled everything from the price of bread to the cost of a phone call. When Meles Zenawi came to power, the economy began to open slowly, but the old habits didn't die. Ethio Telecom remained untouchable. It was still seen as a national symbol, something sacred that nobody else could touch. If you had a problem with your internet, you were told to wait. If you complained, you were told to be patient. And if you went to their office, the staff might tell you, "We're in a meeting, call us tomorrow." That was normal. Ethiopians had learned to endure because they had no other option. Then came Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. When Abiy took power, he said something revolutionary for Ethiopia. The country must liberalize. It must open its doors to investment and competition. He believed that competition would make services better, faster, and fairer. So for the first time in history, Ethiopia decided to allow another telecom operator, Safaricom Ethiopia. This was huge. Safaricom paid around $1 billion just to enter the Ethiopian market. That's not pocket change. That's a signal to the world that Ethiopia was ready to do business. Safaricom brought experience, technology, and high expectations. People hoped for cheaper calls, better data, and a more customer-focused service. And indeed, something changed. Since Safaricom arrived, Ethio Telecom suddenly became friendlier. Before, if you called customer service, you might wait forever. Now they pick up the phone. Before, your complaint could sit for a week. Now they try to solve it fast. Why? Because competition forced them to care. That's what competition does. It makes everyone better. But here's the problem. While Abiy opened the door to competition, the old system inside Ethio Telecom didn't disappear. The monopoly mindset, the idea that we must win at all costs, remained. And that's where the World Bank report comes in. The World Bank released a study this week accusing Ethio Telecom of what many Ethiopians already knew. It's cheating the market. They said Ethio Telecom is using predatory pricing, meaning it keeps prices artificially low, not to help the poor, but to make sure Safaricom cannot survive. They also mentioned bundled discounts, for example, when you get mobile money or airtime together in a way that locks customers into one system, making it hard to switch. And then there's infrastructure access. Ethio Telecom owns the towers, the fiber, the core network. Safaricom has to rent them, but the leasing cost is so high that it becomes almost impossible to compete. The result? Safaricom is losing about $1.5 million every month just on off-net calls, the calls that go between its network and Ethio Telecom's. Imagine paying $1 billion to join the market and then bleeding money every month because your competitor controls all the tools. That's not competition. That's economic suffocation. Now you might ask, but isn't Ethio Telecom just keeping prices low to help the people? That's what its CEO, Freyiwot Tamru, says, that the company wants to make telecom affordable for low-income users. But when those low prices are used to push out new players, it stops being generosity and becomes manipulation. Because once the competition dies, who will keep prices low then? Once Safaricom gives up, Ethio Telecom will again be alone, the only one. and then it can raise prices as it wishes. That's the hidden danger of monopoly. It looks stable, even patriotic, until it collapses under its own power. I saw this cheating with my own eyes. When I was in Addis Ababa, I tried using the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia app to pay for my Safaricom balance. Every single time, the payment failed. The money left my account, but Safaricom never received it. When I went to the bank, they said it was just a system error, a mistake that would be fixed later, but it never was. Meanwhile, payments to Ethio Telecom went through in seconds. Smooth, perfect, instant. These are not coincidences. They are small barriers designed to make life difficult for the new player, to make customers lose trust, to make investors lose hope. That's how monopolies cheat, not by shouting, "No competition," but by quietly placing obstacles everywhere until the rival bleeds out. The irony is that by harming Safaricom, Ethio Telecom is cheating Ethiopia itself, because when one company scares away investors, the whole country loses. Every dollar that Safaricom loses is a dollar that could have gone into better coverage, new jobs, or stronger rural connections. Every blocked payment or overcharged tower lease means slower progress for everyone. When Ethiopia promised to open its telecom market, it told the world, "We are ready to modernize." But if a company pays $1 billion and then gets strangled by bureaucracy and favoritism, what message does that send to the next investor? They will think twice. They will say, if the government's own companies don't play fair, why should we risk our money? That is how monopolies don't just cheat competitors, they cheat the nation's future. The World Bank made clear recommendations. Open up the infrastructure to all at fair prices. Enforce transparent regulation. Stop discriminatory pricing. And make sure Ethio Telecom operates independently, not as judge and player at once. These aren't radical ideas. They're common sense in most countries. Look at Kenya, Ghana, or Rwanda, where competition has brought faster internet, better customer service, and cheaper mobile money. Why should Ethiopia be different? Ethiopia has the talent, the population, and the ambition to become a digital powerhouse in Africa. But that can only happen when the market is fair, when innovation is welcomed, and when the government itself plays by the same rules it sets. Abiy Ahmed's liberalization was a courageous first step. But liberalization is not a one-time act, it's a process. It means breaking old habits, reforming old systems, and challenging those who think they are untouchable. If companies like Ethio Telecom continue to use the same old monopoly tricks, they're not protecting Ethiopia, they're protecting themselves. And in the end, it's the people who pay the price. Because when the internet goes down, when the payments fail, when innovation dies, it's not Safaricom that suffers first, it's us. We lose choices, we lose progress, and we lose hope. So yes, the World Bank is right to call it cheating. But the real question is, will Ethiopia stop it? Will the government ensure that competition thrives, or will it allow the old system to quietly kill the new one? Because if Ethiopia truly wants to lead the Horn of Africa in technology and innovation, it must start with fairness. Competition is not the enemy of progress. Monopoly is. And when one company cheats the market, it cheats all of us. Subscribe to Horn Daily for more bold stories from the Horn of Africa, where we speak truth to power, one story at a time.